Hey, what's up? Today I am working on a few last little framing things inside the house, and directly behind me is going to be where the fireplace is. See my little insert, and we'll talk about that later. But I'm not so sure I like the scale of this. It's just a touch too small, maybe, and so I'm kind of scratching my head right now whether or not I'm actually going to use that. But right now I'm about to build the fireplace area. It's not a functional traditional fireplace, and so these are the ventless style inserts. I'm going to get another one, like I said, if I change this out. But I'm trying to just eyeball it. The other day I built something where the camera is right now. I'm going to show you that, just a little bit of B-roll of it right now and kind of talk about it. But it's the vent hood for the range, and it'll have two little 16-inch cabinets on each side of a 30-inch range stove, with the stove top. And I'm not so sure about that either. I am thinking I might, later I'm going to bring the cabinets in and kind of look at it. I'm not really liking the way it closes off the sight lines, and so I might change that up and just have the vent hood and take off the little wing walls that kind of frame it in as an alcove. But I need to see that in the flesh, see it in action. And so right now I'm going to take and frame in the rough part of this chimney. I'm thinking it's probably going to be about 4 feet wide and 18 inches deep, something like that. And then we'll put half inch or 7/16 OSB tar paper and chicken wire to hold the scratch coat, and then you put on that they call it licking stick. It's like installing tile in essence, where you've got that air manufactured stone. It's not very heavy. And so I'm going to start on that right now, probably just time lapse what I'm doing.
Here's what I ended up with, and it's subject to change because I'm not so sure. I don't think I want to use this insert. It seems like it's going to be too small, but this feels pretty good. Where you see, and I didn't get this on camera, but where I've got those backer plates, nailer plates, that's where the mantle will go. And then I put in a outlet for the TV. I will probably finesse that a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. But like I said before, the process is you put OSB on that, and then tar paper, and then what am I trying to say? Chicken wire to create your scratch coat for the licking stick is what I call it. That's what we call it around here. Just cultured stone. It's not real. But there it is. I'll wire in plumb in the gas later too, but I wanted to kind of see where things land, so I'll end up adding probably another 2x4 across there, and then other framing to get the exact opening for that fireplace insert. And then the other side, this is the vent hood, range hood, alcove, whatever you want to call it. And I might actually change this up. I'm going to bring in the cabinets tomorrow and just slide them in and see, how I feel about it. My concern is I really don't like this area over here. I don't know if I can get a good angle with this, but this is, I think it's like 26 inches from the edge of the wall to that. And it'll be drywall that covers it up. You won't be able to see through there. And I could get rid of all that and add some decorative and actually useful supports that just go down this way, like more timber, more of this white oak stuff, and just have the upper part of the hood. And so it's not exactly wasted work if I go that route, but I kind of want to just live with it and check it out. It's just a touch big, in my opinion, for the scale of this room, and I think that's what's bothering me more than anything else, because I'm trying to fit a ton of stuff into not a very big spot. This main room is only 16 by 20, and inside of it is the kitchen and the living room, and it helps that I've got this sort of dining nook alcove, but even that and the flow of the room are going to be kind of tough Everything is just a little bit big for the scale of this room, so I'm trying to figure that out. So you might see me again tomorrow. I might pull this stuff and go, oh man, I definitely need to change that. And I may even rip down the whole vent hood and do something a little less, something smaller if that's the case, and maybe completely lose the idea of the beam. I'll have some sort of vent hood regardless, as you know, but I'm not really sure. And it's just kind of how it goes with this stuff. You gotta live with it and see it, but I'll figure it out one way or another. Well, it's another day, and I'm putting up the mantle. I cut it down. I had a big piece of elm that I milled up, probably more than a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and it's been up in the attic drying. A pretty big piece of elm. Elm isn't exactly the best wood to use for anything like this because it'll end up twisting stuff, but those big pieces like this is the center cut, and I've cut it down. I've got kind of a live edge thing going on with the wrong side pointed toward you, but I cut this down and sanded it. It's too wide to fit through my planer, and it's actually too wide to be the mantle. Like it's going to stick out too far if I just flush mounted it. And so I kind of changed my design. I'll show a close of it of how it's attached maybe right now, but I cut a bunch of stuff out and reinforced it, and I'm going to do my best to right now slide this in and then figure out how far out I want it to be, and then I'm going to screw it in and nail it in and stuff. And so I'll show you that right now. Maybe I'll speed this up and see what happens. What I'll do, because it's not perfectly, it's not a just flat, perfect piece of lumber. It's not too bad. Your eye can't really see it, but it's kind of wobbly. I'm going to probably put in some screws and use shims to get what I need out of it, and then I'll screw it into place with I've got some really long lag screws that'll keep it where it should be, and this should be really strong. The way I was going to do it is just put it against the wall and then screw into it, through it this way. And it's not ideal. This is a lot better situation, I think. Obviously once you get the plywood and the rock around it, it kind of firms it up too. But when I get done with this, it'll be, about as solid as you can for something like this, because it literally becomes part of the framing structure. And I might put in some other blocks between there too, just to make it tight. So I'm gonna do that right now. So I've got these 5-inch lag bolts, or like what you put together deck stuff with, and I'm going to use those to make sure this does not move over time. And these are pretty big. They're 5-inch. It's got a T40 bit. That gives you any sort of reference. So I've got it leveled out right now. I'm going to put some screws this way, and then probably, I don't know, maybe from the bottom into, we'll see. The next project I'm working on is floating shelves they're going to be on both sides of the kitchen sink. I'll have 4 of them, and there's going to be a bigger one and then a shorter one. The biggest one is like 10 to 12 inches. It's like this. It's a live edge, but it's a more pronounced live edge. I don't know if you can see that, but you can tell it's quite a bit on some of these. And so what I did, I had a big long board, and I haven't filmed all this, but just explaining it to you, is I took and cut it up into sections, and each side's a little bit different because of the way they interact with the drywall and cabinetry and whatever. And what I'm really after is to get the reveal up along the window the same on both sides. And so I've cut them down. I've cut the width, and what I did was try to look and make it somewhat square. You know, it's hard when you have 2 live edges, really hard to cut along the line. So I made a line and measured the width, and then measured again so that the lines were parallel to each other and somewhat square, and then went through and cut off the edge by using a square on. And so I just did this one, and I made a line on the shortest edge and made sure it kind of had to move it around. And then I got to the very edge of my board, and I haven't cut it yet, and using the same technique, I'm using the square to get a straight square edge there. And so that's what I did on this one. This one I'm about to cut, and I'm going to show you kind of what I'm talking about right now. So here's what it looked like before I cut off one edge. So here's what it looks like before, and then a finished product looks like this, where you've got one flat edge and then one live edge, and you'll end up going on the wall like this. So you'll see that. And so in order to get that straight edge and have it square, which I've still got to cut this in, but I've taken and just kind of pick a point that looks right, draw a line. Now it's kind of off actually. I've already drawn the line here, but draw a line, and then I'm going to cut it. So I'm going to do that right now. So now to hang these up, here's the shelf. I took and put it up against the wall and made some marks and cut blocks. You can see this. And so the blocks will go between the studs, and then I'm going to attach screws between it. So it'll fit in about like that. Something like that. And on this side, I'm going to put a block here too to keep it in place, and the drywall will just go around it. The other side, it'll be screwed in from the back side of a cabinet that's there. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fasten this in place if I can. Let's see. So here's the finished product. And again, I'm going to put a brace here, and that'll firm it up quite a bit. It's pretty solid this way. Definitely enough to hold a gallon of water or whatever. These are mostly kind of decorative. It's not as useful as upper cabinets, but pretty. And so this isn't a very big kitchen anyway. I've tried to put space into all kinds of display places. I've got lots of lower cabinet storage. I've got toe kick drawers. I've got all kinds of fun stuff that you haven't seen yet, but pretty pumped about that. And then I'll come back and I'll sand it. I've run through the planer, but I'll sand this and fill any cracks with epoxy or whatnot too. But that's the process. I'm going to do the other two, and then I'll show you what I end up with. Here's the finished product. Got all these shelves in. few days later now, but it turned out pretty good. I can't wait to get some drywall going on these. There's the shelves. I'll take and clean up that live edge. It'll look a lot better than that. There's the mantle. It's looking good.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. More than likely you came across this video randomly, and so if we haven't met yet, my name is Arliss. My channel is called Bespoke Budget Builds, and that's really what I'm about. I kicked off this channel and I'm building this house. It's about 800 square feet, and building it on the tightest budget that I personally can imagine. And so if you want more info about what's led up until this point, I've got an hour-long video that explains all that. I'm going to link you to right here. And also, if you want to go and catch up with the long-form videos, there's a playlist. I'm going to link you to it right here. And so anyway, just thanks so much for watching. Please like and share, subscribe.